I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection, relationships.
Want to meet teachers. What will your message be to them?
The message will be that in teaching, we are probably about to step into the biggest change for 100 years. The last big change in schools around the world, certainly in the English-speaking countries, but not only in the English-speaking countries, was really the definition of schools by age-graded classes, by the conventional subjects of the secondary school curriculum. And now we're facing big changes in teaching with less freedom in some ways, with a centralized curriculum, more testing, more inspection, more accountability, more freedom in other ways with technology, different ways of learning, free schools which are supposed to create differences and alternatives between schools. So there are different directions in which we can move. Some of those are very positive and optimistic. Some are very troubling, and it's important that teachers enter into these decisions and this debate in a knowledgeable way.
You also kind of describe this dramatic shift in schools that further complicates it, right? Because it's not the way when we went to school.
Absolutely not.
It's the mission is almost completely different.
Thank you, because that's the other side. This war that's going on is irrelevant to the needs of our kids. You and I went to school. I went long before you did, but for three reasons. You went there because that's where they kept all the information. It was in the textbooks within the teacher's head. That's not true anymore. Now it's 24/7. So, but schools remain these answer factories when in fact they should be helping kids formulate questions. We went to school to be socialized. Today there's an app for that, right?
That's right.
You know,
the NAP app, right?
But so, and our kids are socializing. It's like pen pal on steroids, and but schools need to adapt to that, because our kids are out there. Our 14-year-old is texting with somebody that she thinks is 14, but could be a 40-year-old pedophile. So we have to, as adults, have to help kids understand that technology. The third reason you went to school was custodial care. Our parents needed, needed
get out of the house.
Keep us safe. We still need custodial care. But if schools don't adapt in the other two ways, then it's a marginal education, and custodial care only becomes dangerous, because kids are smart. Kids have all this energy and intelligence, and if it's not used positively, very often it comes out negatively, and that is what's happening. I mean, cyberbullying.
I'm going to give you a series of pop quizzes. First one is coming up right now. So which one of these things was designed by a kid? This school desk, this drawing of a website, or this patent-approved medical device? It's kind of obvious, right? The answer is all of the above. Now, if you are at all surprised by that, then you're thinking the way I was 5 months ago, before I visited this guy's class and witnessed the future.
You see, when you teach young children, you have the opportunity every day to draw back the curtain and reveal to them the workings of the world, those gears turning beneath the surface. You see, children are often well versed in the surfaces of things, but they're unaware of their creative origins. And I want to move my students from being passive users of things to becoming active creators. And so my classes of 3rd and 4th graders embarked on a unit of study on design.
As we go deeper into learning, can technology accelerate and deepen the quality of learning? And in fact, the answer is yes, although not automatically yes, and that's what we're sorting out. We have these 6 C's, they're called, that will be familiar to most people: critical thinking, communication, creativity, collaboration, character education, and citizenship. How does technology relate to those? I'm going to call those 6 the deep learning goals. And it turns out that if you purposely use technology, you can go a long way to accelerate it. So we have certain criteria. How does the learning become irresistibly engaging? Students want it, and teachers want it. How does it get used without getting too complicated technically? It's the second one. How do you use technology 24/7 so you're accessing the information purposefully all around the clock? And then also, how do you do work that's steeped in what we call real-life problem solving? The foundation for this, incidentally, is this dynamic relationship between push and pull. So push is the finding. I won't give you all the research, but it's very clear that as students move up the grades from kindergarten onward, they are increasingly bored almost everywhere. And so and teachers are somewhat alienated because it's hard to teach the board. So that's the push factor. It's psychologically pushing people out. The pull factor is the tremendous digital world that's got all kinds of ever-increasing attractions, not all of which is productive, but it is a pull. And so what we're trying to do is say, first of all, this push-pull dynamic is going to cause an explosion. Something's got to give. So let's be there as part of the explosion and see how technology can increase the learning.
We came up with this, the textbook. Now, if you want to teach somebody how to become passionate about, I don't know, American history, why would you give them this? Do people walk into Barnes & Noble and say, I'm really interested in that latest gripping thing that's going to get me all engaged about the Civil War? Do you have one of those textbooks in stock? If you wanted to teach someone how to be a baseball fan, would you start by having them understand the history of baseball and who Abner Doubleday was and what barnstorming was and the influences of cricket and capitalism and the Negro Leagues? Would you do that? Would you say, okay, there's a test tomorrow, I want you to memorize the top 50 batters in order by batting average, and then rank the people based on how they do on the test. So the ones who do well get to memorize more baseball players? Is that how we would create baseball fans? Here's the key distinction. What people do, quite naturally, is if it's work, they try to figure out how to do less. And if it's art, we try to figure out how to do more.
Work we do in teacher education, we build in social emotional learning, into adolescent development courses, into learning theory courses, really in a variety of ways throughout the program, not only for teachers to learn how to help students get along with one another, develop social skills and emotional skills, but also to help teachers and leaders figure out how to support themselves as social emotional learners. It's a very, very intense kind of work. You have to be able to relate well to a variety of kids and other adults. You have to be able to manage relationships on an ongoing basis. You have to be able to calm yourself and be deliberative in working in situations that are very unpredictable. And the best teachers, in fact, I believe, are very emotionally intelligent.
I've been critical of the Common Core standards because I don't like the way they were adopted. I don't like the fact that they were written hastily in itself, and it did not include the voices of classroom teachers. I always thought and always said that they should be field tested, and they never were.
Is there a parent or a teacher, a teacher or a mentor who's made a critical difference in your life? A third of them could not name a single teacher, most of them coming from disadvantaged urban backgrounds. I then interviewed all of those teachers and mentors. And I discovered a pattern that I continue to find deeply disturbing. In every single case, the teachers whom I interviewed, from elementary school to graduate school, were outliers. Outliers in their educational settings, teaching in ways that were very different than their colleagues, but ways that were very consistent with some of the most innovative schools I have been to and observed, places like High Tech High in San Diego, New Tech High, Olin College of Engineering, MIT's Media Lab, the D School at Stanford. In all of these places, consistent with what these teachers and how these teachers taught, the culture of schooling, as we know it and still practice it, is radically at odds with a culture of learning that creates innovators in 5 essential respects.
I'm a physicist, lyricist, spitting this ridiculousness, so witness the ignorance I dismiss. Perfect. Newton's laws of motion is the topic of the course, because things in motion stay in motion unless they hit an unbalanced force. Well, next up's the second law of situation and summation. Force equals mass times acceleration. That's the second law Newton foresaw, so if you want more, then the third law is in store. My name is Christopher Emden. I'm a science educator. You know, we spit bars, we spit lyrics, but we also drop science and drop science facts, and then bring that to young people. You know, if somebody were to take hip-hop away from me tomorrow, I couldn't breathe. Hip-hop is everything, man. I mean, hip-hop is pedagogy in motion. You go to any rap concert, you know, the way the person who's on that stage has a command over that audience is almost the exact same way that you want a teacher to be able to sort of hold the students in their hand and make them learn. The call and response, the frenetic energy that builds up to this crescendo, you know, the aha moments. All of those things are what you want to see happening in the classroom. So hip-hop gives us the perfect pedagogical model. Youth are always in search of something to sort of strike them in a way that makes them see that there are new possibilities for life. You know, I work with kids who are from very, very low socioeconomic status, high incarceration rate communities, and so they're just looking for an outlet. And they're looking for something to dream about, something to look forward to. So if a teacher can show that the content that they're teaching is a path towards a different possibility for their future, they tune right in.
When Chris comes into the class, it's a whole different atmosphere.
He changes things around. He makes everything fun. He brightens up your day.
Phenotypes and genotypes. I gotta keep going.
Essentially what we're doing is we're teaching kids to be able to remember what they learned. They're putting it on paper to rhyme. They're trying to make connections where connections didn't exist before. They're developing a curiosity for the subject matter, and then they're learning that the only assessment for knowledge is not just some stupid test. We have to write everything down, but you have to go out there and present the information. Just like scientists go out today and present their information to their colleagues and peers when they're at conferences.
This is a process called asexual reproduction. It's a part of something called regeneration.
Exactly what you just said. Write that down.
What did I say?
You know, I was in that classroom with a kid that I saw last week. And it was like, you know, what are you gonna do with the science raps? Oh, I don't know, it's gonna be awful. And he gets up there and the rhyme is perfect.
The thing about water is that it changes like a person from the color to the taste, but the water's never perfect. Seeping through the layers like you're moving through a crowded train. Hard to find the purity of water in the acid rain.
Teaching essentially is about, you know, meeting the person who you want to share information with on their own cultural turf. You know, where is that they're embedded? What are the examples that mean something to them? And the educator has to be able to enter the learner's mind and be aware of how they view the world. This approach to teaching and learning for young people who are already immersed in hip-hop, it opens up a whole new world and universe to them.
The brain cohabitates with the mind to perform perceptions of its own kind.
So listen, we gotta transform, making different landforms. How does the landform, get it?
That's dope, props. Teaching and learning is so beautiful, man. Like, it really is a dance. It's really understanding your partner in that process so that at the end, the thing that you create is beautiful and magical.
Yeah, holla at me. I think I want to go to Columbia one day. I'm there. Whenever y'all ready, I'm there. All right, peace, y'all.
Put your eye on Pete. Give me a lift. Take care.